الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue inshallah ta'ala with Akhsar Al-Mokhtasarat, and we stopped at قوله فصل ومن ماله لا يفي بما عليه حالا. You guys are there? ومن ماله لا يفي بما عليه حالا. It's the beginning of a chapter. It says فصل. Everyone is there? This is the subject of Al-Hajr. The subject of Al-Hajr. And what's the English terminology for it? The legal term?
Financial legal disability.
Financial legal disability. Okay. So this is Al-Hajr. So the word Al-Hajj, as it's going to be mentioned right in the first line, just to mention the meaning of it. Al-Hajr is basically when something is being withheld. So they always define it as Al-Man'a. يوم يرون الملائكة لا بشرى يومئذ للمجرمين ويقولون حجرا محجورا. They will be prevented and deprived from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and from entering the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the subject of al-fiqh is also the same meaning, but as it going to be mentioned, it's basically man' to deprive or to withhold the person from any financial ability because of specific reasons. So they say it منع نفاذ تصرف, that a person is prevented from dealing with his own money. And there are two types. This first fasl is about the first one, and the second fasl is the second one. So this al-hajr, whether it's because of one's debt, that he's not able to pay his debt while he has some money, as we will see the masail in it, or the hajr, which is the second type, with regards to the individuals. So the hajr on the wealth of the child, the hajr on the wealth of as-safi, the one that lost his mind, insane, with the different levels of it, of course. So this is the two types where the person is not able to deal with his own wealth with specific rulings, as we will hear inshallah ta'ala. So he says here وَمَنْ مَالُهُ لَا يَفِي بِمَا عَلَيْهِ حَالًا. What is meant by this is whoever, وَمَنْ لِلْعَاقِلِ. This is refers to the individual. And as we see, now we're getting used to the ways of the books of fiqh. It doesn't give you the full details of what is being mentioned. It's supposed to be as less words as it can be. So it refers to al-ghaib, or someone, the third person. So you kind of wonder who is the masail is talking about. So this here, وَمَنْ مَالُهُ, the one that his wealth, his money, or whatever value that he has, of financial values, لَا يَفِي, from al-wafa, does not fulfill bima alayhi, with what's upon him. Alayhi, that means he has debt, has rights, has money that he has to, that people own, that he has to give them their money. So he has money, but it's not sufficient, it's not enough for what's upon him as far as the debt is concerned. Halan, halan, with a shadda on the lam, that means it's not deferred, it's immediate. So the debtors, they are asking for their money. The lenders, they're asking the money, the time comes, if it was a deferred payment or something like this, and there are many, for example, or one. So the case for someone, he has different loans or different things that he has to pay, and they're all, the time for it came and he doesn't have all of the money. And we have to be careful and precise here. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have anything. He has some, but not what is sufficient to give one or everyone their money. So, for example, if someone owes $100,000 to 5 people, right? And he has only 50. And the time comes where he's supposed to give them their money. And he's not able to give all of them. So this is then what's the ruling? This is what the first statement is. وَمَنْ مَالُهُ لَا يَفِي بِمَا عَلَيْهِ. Because the one that doesn't have anything, this is going to be mentioned later. So that means وَمَنْ مَالُهُ لَا يَفِي بِمَا عَلَيْهِ, that means he has some, but not everything. وَمَنْ مَالُهُ لَا يَفِي بِمَا عَلَيْهِ حَالًا. حَالًا, that means the وقت قد حل. حل, that means now he has to pay the money. Because if it's deferred, also it's going to come. They cannot ask, they don't have rights to ask for Al-Hajr or for him to be withholding his money by the judge to pay the lenders because the time of it didn't come yet. So this has to be hal. So every word counts here. وَمَنْ مَالُهُ, whoever his wealth, لَا يَفِي بِمَا عَلَيْهِ. And yafi here again meaning would not fulfill in the perfect sense. Not that he doesn't have anything. Halan, that means the time for it had already arrived. Is it clear? Wajaba, so this is the masala. What's going to be the ruling then? وجب الحجر عليه بطلب بعض غرماء. وجب, meaning al-wujub, that means it becomes obligatory. Al-Hajr alayhi, this is al-Hajr, that they have to withhold, prevent him from using his money. Now he cannot use his money, he cannot do anything with his money, and then someone else will be in control of his wealth. This is what al-Hajr, someone else will take over, but then here with a condition, بطلب بعض غرماء, by the request, طلب, some of his غرماء. Al-Ghurama is the plural of gharim, the lenders basically, those who acquired upon themselves this gharama or this money, a burden on themselves. They want their money and their money has been withheld by that individual. He's not able to pay them back. So this is the ghurama. Because if they don't ask, then there's no problem. I mean, if the lenders, they don't ask for their money, so there's no wujub here. There's no obligations because they're okay with it. They're lenient. They want to give them time. So وجب الحجر عليه بطلب بعض. Not all of them has to ask, but if some of them, one of them asked, and he goes to the judge or something, then the judge will make a ruling that this man becomes mahjurun alayhi. That means he's not able to deal with his money till all of the ghurama are being paid off their money. And the Prophet ﷺ did that when some had asked for the wealth of Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, and the Prophet ﷺ made that upon Mu'adh. He cannot deal with his money till all of the lenders takes their money. So وجب الحجر عليه بطلب بعض غرمائه. So this is the first ruling here. Clear? So al-wujub, because we need to understand and to be very careful with this, because again, he has some money, and it's hulul al-dayn, that means the debt is due, and it's only obligatory if some other or one of the lenders ask for it. So anything that does not fit here, there's no wujub here, there's no obligations here. Clear so far? And then one or some would ask for their money. They want their money now because it's due. And he has some. Because if he doesn't have anything, there's no obligations upon him, meaning they have no rights to ask. Because the ayah, كَانَ ذُو عُسْرَةٍ فَنَظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرٍ. If he is in usra, if he's not able to, he doesn't have the means to do it, then they have to wait till he has means. But now this is the case of Al-Hajr here when it comes to financial Hajr. That means he has some. He has some money, but not what is sufficient to pay everyone. Of course, if you have enough, that means he's rich, he has the means to give them all, and he's refusing, that means he's zalim, he's a wrongdoer. And from min babi awla, that means yes, they would ask for it, and the judge will take over also till everyone gets their money, and then he's yufak al-hajr. Al-hajr is to prevent him, and then it will be released. But now the case here, he doesn't have all the money, he has some of it. So وجب الحجر عليه بطلب بعض غرمائه. And then he says وسنة إظهاره. وسنة, that means it's from the sunnah. وسنة, noon without a ta مربوطة, right? وسنة, that means it's become, it's the sunnah in the past tense, that this is from the sunnah إظهاره, to make it public. That this guy has been, when someone, file bankruptcy, something like this, they make it public, right? So it's the same thing. So everybody should know, so that nobody to deal with him. He's prevented from dealing, from buying and selling and everything. He's on hold. No money is to be given to him. Of course, there, people would say that means he's going to spend on himself. No, with exceptions. The bare minimum that is required for him to continue with his expenses. And the ulama, they talk about that also in some details, but not necessarily here. This is mukhtasar. And, even with the benefit of ilm and knowledge, if he's a talib ilm, if he's a person of knowledge, his books are not to be sold. Even if his maktaba, if his books are worth millions, but because of the honor of the books and he needs it. So it's like when someone, for example, if a person is a mechanic and he, they made hajr on him because he's not able to pay the lenders their money, it is not to take his tools in his shop and sell it because he needs it for his work. So the extra things, the things that are, that he can live without, and some things can be considered according, of course, to the judge based on what is being to be spent with matters of ma'ruf. But he's not able to make deals and things like this, as it's going to be mentioned. So وَسُنَّةً إِظْهَارُهُ, to be made clear for people so that they don't come and deal with him financially. And وَلَا يَنْفُذُ تَصَرُّفُهُ فِي مَالِهِ بَعْدَ الْحَجْرِ. وَلَا يَنْفُذ, remember the word is repeated. نفاذ الشيء, that means what? النفوذ physically means what? لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان. يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان. In Surah Al-Rahman, jinn and mankind, if you're able to go out of the heavens and the earth, right? So, and nafadh is when you penetrate something to go out of it. When you go through one medium to the other, you penetrate, you have to penetrate, you put something in the wall. If you put a nail in the wall, it's not really nafadh till it goes out on the other side. Till the other side of it, goes out of the building. That's physically. So if it's financially, nafadh al-tasarruf, that means his tasarruf, his dealings are recognized, or it's the consequences of it is established. Meaning that if someone goes sell something, right, his selling of something is recognized, is honored. If as we said before, if a child goes sells his parents' house, is that he's never the tasarruf? No, of course not, because he's a child. He cannot do this. So there's difference between certain individuals. They cannot do any buying and selling. So this is وَلَا يَنْفُذُ تَصَرُّفُ, that means his tasarruf, and a tasarruf in the money, as it's mentioned before, is the fact that he can sell something, he can buy something. But here in his mal, in his money, لَا يَنْفُذ, that means his tasarruf, his dealing with his own money is not honored, is not recognized, is not to be, fulfilled. Forgive me with my lack of vocabulary, but you guys understand, right? وَلَا يَنْفُذُ تَصَرُّفُهُ فِي مَالِهِ, in his own wealth. بعد الحجر, after the Hajr. After the Hajr is established, so it's a rule. The Qadi, the judge, will decide from that date, he's not allowed to use any of his money. Before that date, anything that he did, that's fine. But after this is وَلَا يَنْفُذُ تَصَرُّفُهُ فِي مَالِهِ بَعْدَ الْحَجْرِ. Once they decided from that date he is not allowed to use his money, then anything that comes after that is invalid. If it happened that someone did not have the knowledge of it and he purchased something from him, he bought something from someone, all of that is going to be cancelled. It's not recognized. Why? Because already there's a rule that person has been mahjurun alayhi. That means he's been under the the order of the court or something, that he's not able to deal with his own money. ولا ينفذ تصرفه. So referring to who? To the one that is mahjur عليه, the one that has been al-hajr has been established against him, في ماله, in his own money. And money is anything that has value, as we know. بعد الحجر, after the hajr. And of course, the qadi or the judge will make clear what he can deal with and what he can keep and what he's not able to keep. So, things like this. So this is the first one. ولا ينفذ تصرفه. His تصرف لا ينفذ, is not to be under, is not to be recognized. ولا إقراره عليه, and not also his إقرار عليه. عليه is refers to the mal. So his إقرار. Remember the word إقرار in الصلح. The two types of صلح. We have صلح إنكار and صلح إقرار. When the صلح, when having a reconciliation, and part of it is al-iqrar, meaning acknowledge. A person says, yes, I'm supposed to give him this. This is owned by him. He's not denying. So this is al-iqrar. So ولا إقراره عليه. So his iqrar even is not valid after the hajr. So after the hajr, if he says, yes, this guy, I owe him this, or not necessarily this, I'm supposed to give that person that, or to pay for this, things like this. If it's all after the hajj, it's initiated after the hajj, because he's not responsible for anything now at this moment. ولا إقراره عليه بل في ذمته. بل here للإضراب, يعني what's before بل is different than what's after بل. But rather in whatever in his dhimma is okay. ذمته, his dhimma. And what's the dhimma? His responsibility. And as we said in al-bay', in buying and selling, as you see, the words are repeated. So that's why if you from the beginning you're going through the words, mashallah, as you see, the matter will become easier to recognize these words, because it all has meanings that are in the shara, is to be recognized, not just words in language and that's it. So it has implications to these meanings. So الذمة المالية, when someone either buys something and he pays for it cash, or it's going to be with deferred payment. So in his dhimma, according to his own being or his responsibility, he has to give that money, or there's rights upon him that he has to fulfill. So what is meant by this is, if he has money that is upon him to pay, he purchased a car with payments, and now they made hajr on him. Does that mean what he has to pay? The money that he did with the dhimma, or even after al-hajr. But when is going to be his responsibility to give it? فَيُطَالَبُ بَعْدَ فَكِّ حَجْرٍ. Then he will be asked to give it after the hajr is released. Al-fakk is when you release something. So so only the money in his dhimma, or that he's responsible, he has to pay. If he purchased something like that, then he has to give it, but after fakk al-hajr, after the hajj is released. So and of course, if it's في ذمته, that means what? That means it's not لم يحل الدين بعد. It is not due yet. That's what the meaning of في ذمته. Because if it's due, then it will be with the rest of the things that he's supposed to give. So it's not due yet. So then he will be asked to pay this after fakk al-hajr, after release of al-hajr. Is it clear so far? Again, if you have questions of practicalities and stuff like that, we'll do it at the end, inshallah. But here we're making sure that every mas'ala is clear, inshallah. The last one. ولا إقرار. So the one that is mahjur alayh, the one that they would withhold his money, he cannot do anything, he cannot buy anything, he cannot do anything with his wealth, he cannot acknowledge rights upon him or wealth upon him, except what is valid for him if there is something in his dhimma, not something due now, something that is going to be paid later. So in that case, this is to be still recognized because it's not due yet, and he will be asked to give it after the Hajj upon him is released. Because the Hajj is what's hal, is what's due now, not what he's supposed to pay after a year. Right? بل في ذمته. So, and of course, once the Hajj is established, he cannot initiate anything even to be or to incur more debt on him. So he says, وَمَنْ سَلَّمَهُ. So is it clear? وَمَنْ سَلَّمَهُ عَيْنَ مَالٍ أو عين مال جاهل الحجر أخذه. ومن سلمه, this is a new مسألة. ومن سلمه, whoever سلمه, تسليم is when you hand over something. So whoever gives him عين مال. مال is what? Is money. عين is, العين is something specific. So and basically the مسألة here, someone is, Al-Hajr is established upon him. He's not supposed to buy or sell. So someone doesn't know that this is what's happening to that person. And say, for example, he sold the car to him. And it's supposed to be for $1,000. But he didn't pay him anything. He says, I'll give you later. So now he purchased the car and the car is with him. Correct? And then that person realized that the one that sold the car to him, well, that guy is mahjurun alayhi. He's not having any financial responsibility. They're withholding his money to give all of the lenders their money. So what should he do? He should be like with them. But this is, if he goes back and he sees his car, Aina al-mal, right? Then he can take it back. Right? He doesn't have to join the lenders because now it's not money, it's something ayn, something ayni, something physical. So, but with conditions. وَمَنْ سَلَّمَهُ عَيْنَ مَالٍ, whoever gives him عَيْنَ مَال, a very specific object or commodity, something that is very specific, not the like of it. Not that he gave him some dates. It has to be the specific ones with the counted numbers of dates, right? Not just any that he comes and he finds some dates there. No, it has to be عين مال. So وَمَنْ سَلَّمَهُ عَيْنَ مَالٍ جاهل الحجر, أو you can say وَمَنْ سَلَّمَهُ عَيْنَ مَالِ جاهل الحجر. That means the money is the one that جاهل الحجر, the one that does not know, is ignorant about the Hajr. He's ignorant about the fact that that person, the money has been withheld from him, he's not able to deal with his money. أخذها. Then he has the right to take it. But with conditions. First, إن كانت بحالها. إن كانت بحالها. If that عين, the something that is عيني, now we know what al-ayn means, right? Al-ayn is not the eyes, is the specific item. So ومن سلمه عين مال جاهل الحجر. Whoever gives a specific item and he is ignorant about al-hajr. Al-hajr. He's ignorant about al-hajr. He's ignorant about the fact that the man is not able to buy and sell. Then he has the right أخذها. He has the right to take that specific item, but with conditions. First, إن كانت بحالها. The first condition is if it's بحالها, if it's in the same state that he gave it to him. It's not less or more, or because again there is rights that's to be observed to the other lenders. So for example, if he gave him something and he added things to it, but he does not have the right to these things that are added on it, because then the other ones, the other lenders, they need money from this guy or less. It has to be بحالها, as the same way that he gave it to him without being changed. حمك الله. وعوضها كله باق. وعوضها كله باق. The عوض, or the العوض, is when the value of it, or the money that's supposed to be, he sold it for 1,000, so all of it is still there. He did not give him some. He owes him the entire amount of money. وعوضها كله باق, stays. He did not take any of it. because if he sold them the car for 1,000 and he gave him a 500, he cannot do that. He cannot go pick up the car and he says he's mahjurun alay. It has to be that the entire money he didn't get anything from it, because otherwise, if he takes it and it's in its original state, that means he get 1,000 and more. This more belongs to the other lenders, because now Al-Hajr, what Al-Hajr does is that his money that is not enough for the lenders is going to be distributed to them, among them, according to the proportion of what he took the money from. So that's why وَعِوَضُهَا كُلُّهُ بَاقٍ. All of the عوض, all of the العوض is, المعاوضات, the عقود or the contracts that either in the bab of المعاوضات, that means buying and selling, profit and loss. This is العوض versus something that is given as a gift. Right? So a diyun, for example, al-qard, there's no معاوضات in it. There's no benefit or profits from it. So وعوضها, the money that he paid, whatever, كله باق, all of it is still with him. He did not give him anything of it. Is it clear? وعوضها, the ha alif here, the ضمير refers to the عين المال that we talked about. كله, all of the money, باق, is stays. He did not receive any of it. And the third condition, ولم يتعلق بها حق للغير. ولم يتعلق بها, that means this عين المال, the specific item, it is not now attached to the right of someone else. What does that mean? He purchased the car and he did not give him the money, all of it. And the money still in it, or the item still is in its original state, but he already sold it to someone else. And then he cannot go get it because now it belongs to someone else. This is حق الغير. So once he purchased it from him, by the time he realized, oh, this guy is mahjurun alayhi, I want my car back, he goes back and he sees the car there, but he had already sold it to someone else. Then he cannot take it. Why? Because it تعلق بها حق الغير. الحق is the right. الغير is someone else. تعلق, that means hanging something, that item belongs to someone else, with whatever the rights is. Because again, he did not say that he necessarily sold it. That's why the word in general, ولم يتعلق بها. There's nothing attached to it when it comes to the right of others. So these three conditions has to be fulfilled. Otherwise, if one is missing, he cannot take his specific item that he gave it to who? To the mahjur alayhi. We're talking about al-hajr only, right? We're not talking about anything else. We're talking about the case of someone that the judge has made a ruling that he cannot deal with his money, so that they would give the lenders their money. Clear? So that specific mas'ala here, وَمَنْ سَلَّمَهُ عَيْنَ مَالٍ جَاهِلَ الْحَجْرِ أَخَذَهَا, he would take it because he didn't know. إِنْ كَانَتْ بِحَالِهَا, if it's in original state. وَعِوَضُهَا كُلُّهُ بَاقٍ, and all of its عوض, the money that he paid, the thaman, the price of it is all there. He did not take anything of it. وَلَمْ يَتَعَلَّقْ بِهَا حَقٌّ لِلْغَيْرِ, and it does not include any rights of others because he didn't sell it, he did not rent it to others, and so on. And there's actually, this has a hadith of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, من أدرك ماله بعينه عند رجل قد أفلس فهو أحق به من غيره. Whoever أدرك, this is the hadith of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, Bukhari and others, whoever أدرك ماله, whoever attain or reach his wealth بعينه, that's the hadith, بعينه, his specific item or his specific مال. I hope this عينه is clear, because the word mal, even in Arabic, is always referred now to money, right? So it's not about money. If someone gave that mahjur alayh money and he did know that he was mahjur alayh, he gave him a loan, like $1,000 as a loan, and that guy, he didn't know that he was a rule has been declared upon him that he is not able to take loans and he's not supposed to give anything. But then he comes back, he gave him money. So is it the money, the specific money that he finds on the table, he can take it and leave? That's fine. But if he goes back and he says after 5 minutes and the money is gone and, with everything, or they wrote it with a check or something, this is not عين المال. He cannot take it back because now it has to be distributed among all of the lenders. Because so this is a very specific thing. من أدرك ماله بعينه. Whoever he goes and he finds his specific item that he gave him. Very specific. So if it's even $10, it has to be that specific $10 bill, not $10. So it has to be something specific. So a car, watch, and whatever. عند رجل by a man قد أفلس. أفلس that means he's bankrupt. فهو أحق به من غيره. He has the right to it more than before anyone else, before the other lenders. Because all these lenders are waiting to get their money, but he has the right because it's أمال عين المال, something very specific item. So this is his, it belongs to him, not something that can be shared with everyone else. Clear? Then after that, so going back again to the one that is mahjur alayh, he's not able to deal with his money. What is to be done then in that case? ويبيع حاكم ماله ويقسمه على غرمائه. Al-Hakim is the ruler, the judge. يبيع ماله. He will sell the money of that person that حجر عليه, has been decided that he is withheld from dealing with his money. I guess maybe there's a legal term for that person. What's that individual called? Al-Mahjur Ali. The individual, the incompetent. So Al-Mahjur alayhi, the individual is called what? Al-Hajr is, I guess, this is what we're lacking with the legal. It's okay, but we understand the meaning, right? So Al-Hajr is the decision that a person is unable to deal with his money. Because the other type is as it didn't come yet. But that individual is called what? He is what? That's what Al-Mahjur alayhi. He's incompetent of dealing, but incompetent doesn't have to be with one's sanity or something like this. No, it's by the decision of the judge. This is the first type. It means this person is a good person, is an honest person. He is saying everything is good, but his debt is far more than what he has. So the judge would make a ruling. Well, you stop dealing with your money because we're going to distribute it. This is health. So we have to have a lawyer with us. Right. Anyway, but you understand what is being meant here? So the hakim, the ruler, يبيع ماله. يبيع حاكم ماله. Al-Hakim, the ruler or the judge, and we said, and the Hakim, if it's mentioned in the books of fiqh, doesn't have to be the highest level of authority, because any level of authority, they act on behalf of the highest level of authority. So the judge, the ruler, whatever. So he will sell his money. Whose money? Al-Mahjur alayhi. We don't have to say it in English, you understand? Al-Hajr and Al-Mahjur alayhi, the one that is not responsible, he's supposed to be stop dealing with his money. So the judge or the hakim, he will appoint whatever for his money to be sold. وَيَقْسِمُهُ عَلَى غُرَمَاء. Then the money when it's sold, he will distribute it to his غرماء, to the lenders. يَقْسِمُهُ. So how is يَقْسِمُهُ? If it's the debt is 100,000 divided by 5 lenders, and he has 100,000, mashallah, everybody will get their money, no problems. We're not talking about, this is not the case. Right? This is an obvious one. No, he has only 50,000. So if you write down, I'll let you do this math problem, inshallah. Are you guys ready? I'll make it up and then hopefully, inshallah, it'll be easy to solve. Okay, so the debt is $100,000. Okay? And the lenders are 5 people. One, he owes him 50,000. Okay, hopefully it'll be easy to divide. And one with 20, and one with 10, and then 2 with 5. Difficult one. So you have 50,000, and one he gave him 20,000, so that's 70, and one gave him 10, and then one gave him 5, and one gave him 5. Okay, so this is 100,000, correct? If you didn't write it down, I won't remember. And those also online, write it. This is 90, make it 100. Say 10, 10, 5. Okay. Now we want to make it more difficult. So we have 50 and 20, and then 10, and another 10, and then 5. Is that correct? So make it 100. 50, 20, 70. We have 30 left. So 110, 110, and this is 6 then, right? 2 5s. Okay. Whatever you decide. What's the mas'ala? Tell me the mas'ala so that I can make it public. 100,000 is divided by 5 people. 50, 20, 15, 15, 10, 5. Is that correct? طيب. This guy has only 50,000. When they sold everything he has, by the rule of the judge, the money with the judge is 50,000. How these people are going to take their money is going to be divided according to the share, right? The percentage. So the 50,000, he gets half of it. So he'll get 25, right? The one that is 15, whatever the percentage, 7.5 from the 50. And the one that is 10 is going to get how much? 5. And the one that's from 5, 2.5. Remember this because there's a more complicated issue coming later, right? Let me go ahead and say it. It's the last one in the chapter. So they distributed among the 5, and those also who are hopefully hearing us, you got the mas'ala? Is it clear? What if after they distributed it, are you with me? They distributed, everything is done, and a 6th person shows up. And that 6th person had gave that person money, of course with the proof and everything, 50,000. What are you going to do? You don't have to recalculate the whole thing. That 50,000 is, what's the 50,000 compared to the 100,000? Half. So he's supposed to take half from each and every one of them. So the 25, the one that got the 25 is going to give, yeah. Yes, no. Okay. 1/3 of the whole thing. Right. But now he's going to take it from who? From the ghurama, from the lenders. Because the money from the guy is gone. He's not going to take anything from him. He's going to take it from them. So how much each one supposed to give? Half? Right. So keep this in mind. Okay. I'm not going to give you the answer. طيب, let's, this is the last mas'ala here. Right? So let's say here we stopped at ويبيع حاكم ماله ويقسمه على غرماء. This is clear? ويبيع حاكم ماله ويقسمه على غرماء. The حاكم will sell the money of the محجور عليه, that's ماله, ويقسمه, and he would distribute it on his غرماء. ومن لم يقدر على وفاء شيء من دينه أو هو مؤجل تحرم مطالبته وحبسه وكذا ملازمته. This is an easy one. ومن لم يقدر على وفاء شيء. Whoever يقدر, he has no power, he has no means to fulfill على وفاء شيء. شيء, that means anything. The first statement was he's not able to fulfill all of it. But here شيء, that means he has nothing whatsoever. ومن لم يقدر على وفاء شيء من دينه. He does not able to fulfill any of his of his dain, of his debt. This is the first case. أو هو مؤجل, or the dain is deferred, is not حال yet. المؤجل is the opposite of الحال. Correct? What is the ruling here? The first one was what? وجب. It's obligation to take from his money to the غرماء. Here تحرم. The total opposite. It's حرام. تحرم مطالبته. It's haram to ask from him any money because he doesn't have anything. Right? He has zero. So it's haram to ask him to give anything. وحبسه, and haram to put him in prison. He doesn't have anything. وكذا ملازمته, or to keep on asking him and being after him for it. Because the ayah says, وَإِنْ كَانَ ذُو عُسْرَةٍ فَنَظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرٍ. If he is not able to, then you have to wait. It's an obligation to wait till the matter becomes easy. But if he has something, then that does not apply here. This is in a case when someone doesn't have anything. And that's why, again, the subject of al-qard or loan, it's a good deed to start with. But also, if it's not a loan, if it's something else, but he doesn't have anything, what they're going to do? If they imprison him, what's the benefit of it? They're not going to get their money. So something has to be done, but it's not permissible to deal with that person like this in this case. Please. نعم. أو هو مؤجل. That means the dain is مؤجل, deferred. أو هو مؤجل, هو mean refers to what? To a dain. And in the mutun of fiqh or anything, the most important thing to know the dama'ir, what does it refer to? You have to know what he, هو, and the ضمير, whether it's متصل or منفصل, you know, who's هو? Is it the person or the dain or the debt? أو هو مؤجل. That means the debt is deferred. تحرم مطالبته. The ha here refers to who? It's forbidden to ask him. Ask who? Ask the borrower, which is the one that is محجور عليه. وحبسه, and it's not permissible to imprison him. وكذا ملازمته. And then he says, ولا يحل مؤجل بفلس ولا بموت إن وثق الورثة. There's another مسألة. إن وثق الورثة برهن محرز أو كفيل مليء. The مسألة here is something that is deferred. If the money upon that محجور عليه is deferred, is not due. So it does not become due because he's bankrupt. You get it? Someone is supposed to pay a debt a year from now. He took a loan, but it's due 1 year from now. The payment of today, it's due. But say, for example, just make it as a year, right? So it's after a year. So that after a year or after a month or whatever there is, it is not due because he's bankrupt till the time comes. So it cannot be all due now because he's bankrupt. So they all come, the one that his money is due after a year and this, no. It's only what's due. Then this is what to deal with it, with his money, and it's going to be all distributed to what is due. And now he has nothing. And those who their payment is after a month or two, that's how things are. They're not going to keep anything for them. So ولا يحل مؤجل بفلس. Falas is the bankruptcy. أتدرون من المفلس من أمتي, as the hadith of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. So ولا يحل. يحل does not mean halal. It means due. ولا يحل مؤجل. المؤجل is deferred. يحل, the opposite of مؤجل. So the مؤجل, the deferred, does not become due because of falas, because of bankruptcy. Clear? So that's why, I mean, the words here is very important to, you know, if someone takes it as halal, that's not halal. It's ولا يحل مؤجل. It's two opposite words. يحل and مؤجل. بفلس, the first thing is بفلس, with bankruptcy, and also ولا بموت إن وثق الورثة. ولا بموت. That means if the mahjur عليه died. If he died, then what do they do with the money? Is it going to go to the inheritors, the heirs, or now he was, mahjur in state of Al-Hajr like that, and he died. So this is an opinion here. What the deal is, does all of the deferred, everything becomes due? Of course, what's due, it's due. But what's deferred, does it become due if he dies? This is the differences of opinions. The majority, they said yes, because now he died. So anything, even the deferred payment, becomes due. But in Madhab Imam Ahmad, here it's not due, but with a condition. It still can be deferred because it's not there yet. But with a condition, it says وَلَا بِمَوْتٍ in if. So it does not become due if وَثَّقَ الْوَرَثَةُ. If the waratha, wathaq means, they guarantee. If the inheritors, they would guarantee the money that is deferred after a year or something. But with what? If they guarantee it, برهن محرز الرهن. We talked about الرهن. The waratha, the inheritors, would give a rahn, a collateral, محرز, something that is not movable, not used, not a goat and sheep and things like this. Something that they can be attained, and something that can be locked, piece of gold or something, whatever there is. So they would keep it with a third party or whatever till the time comes, and then they get their money back, or if they paid before that. This is the first one. برهن محرز أو كفيل مليء. كفيل, remember الكفالة? Kafil, someone that would guarantee to give the money. Mali, that means he's full. That means he's rich. He has means. So you say, I'll take care of it. So if someone take it upon himself, that guy died, the mahjur alay, and there's a payment after a year, then he would say, I'll pay it. Then that is to be recognized. It's due whenever it's due. Because now it's moved to someone else, or to bring. Even if it's kafala, that means he will bring them. He will say, I will bring these people, these heirs, after a year to give you the money. And if he's not able to bring them, then he will pay it. So that it stays deferred. So these things, if differences of opinions, usually what rules is according to what the laws of the land is. Okay? Is it clear or it's difficult? So the way you read this, وَلَا يَحِلُّ مُؤَجَّلٌ بِفَلَسٍ وَلَا بِمَوْتٍ إِنْ وَثَّقَ الْوَرَثَةُ بِرَهْنٍ مُحْرِزٍ أَوْ كَفِيلٍ مَلِيٍ. Do you understand what is being said? Yeah, if the waratha guarantee it, التوثيق is like the ضمان is توثيق. Remember, the contract of a ضمان is a guarantee. So it's to protect one's right. So if the waratha, they make توثيق, they would guarantee that the money will be paid when it's due, either برهن محرز أو كفيل ملي. With rahn, that is, الحرز is when something is locked, something that, it's not easy access to it, something that's going to be preserved. أو كفيل ملي, the word mali, as it's used in transactions, someone that has means, has financial means. And that's why it is zakat also. If you give someone a loan, if he's mali, you pay zakat on it. If you give someone $1,000, that's from your money, then the year passes and you're supposed to give zakat. Do you count this $1,000 or no? If the one that you gave him the money is mali, that means he has the ability to give you the money back, then you have to pay zakat on it. If he's not mali, he's mu'sir, you lose hope, then you don't give zakat on it till he gives it back to you. So this is أو كفيل مالي. Clear? But because of the time, this is the last statement that we added to the مسألة. وإن ظهر غريم بعد القسمة. وإن ظهر, and if ظهر means becomes apparent or become present. غريم is the singular of غرماء. One of the lenders, he comes بعد القسمة, after the distribution. رجع على الغرماء بقسطه. He would return back. رجع means, what's رجع means in financial meanings? He takes his money from. رجع, not that he returns back. It means he takes his money from. Like this is what رجع and الرجوع in the financial meanings or things like that. That means he's taken his money from. رجع على الغرماء. He will go back to the lenders, those who they received their proportion of their money, not all of their money, بقسطه, by his share, with whatever share that he has from what he supposed to get. Okay. So it's the percentage. So he's going to go back with the percentage of what percentage he has. So let's try this in the example that we have. But we'll stop here and see if it's correct or not next time. So the percentage of what the 51, the one that came late and he had 50. What's the percentage of the 50? 1/3. So if each one gives 1/3, how much the total will be? And this is what we need to figure out, inshallah.
Creditor number one is 3,000.
10 and 5.
Then 6 is 50,000. Right? He asked.
Yes.
So it's going to be a third for everyone. So he gets approximately 16,000.
No, you don't have to recalculate the whole thing. You can do this and then you see how much people each one get it. I guess it's easier to do that if you want to do that. You recalculate based on 150 and the guy has only 50. So then it's going to be redistributed again. And then for the ones that already got the money, you see how much less they supposed to receive. So you're supposed to take that, you subtract that from what they have from each one. And if you see, you would find that it's the third. We'll stop here because of the time and we can go back to it, inshallah. So this is to consider. And then we have the hadith that we finished last time. We want to go through it, inshallah, again, even though we went through the sentences of it, this hadith al-Qudsi, which is such a great hadith that requires for us to constantly go to it and benefit from it. It was, what's the number of it, 140? 141? So we finished hadith 141, but just to review it quickly, inshallah, and we're supposed to read what we took today in Al-Hajr, or that first chapter, or that part of the Hajr. We have a few minutes till the adhan. No, it's okay. So the hadith of Abi Dharr radiallahu anh, without reading it over again, inshallah, but as you see this hadith Qudsi, that يا عبادي إني حرمت الظلم على نفسي وجعلت بينكم محرما فلا تظالموا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O my ibad, I forbade al-dhulm, wrongdoing, oppression, injustice upon myself, and I make it upon among you muharraman. So فلا تظالموا. ظلم ظلمات يوم القيامة. Injustice and oppression and all of these things are darknesses in the day of judgment. The most difficult sin for a person to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be in the day of judgment, and he has mazalim, he has rights of others that is upon him was not fulfilled in this life. This is the difficult sins. Why? Because it includes the rights of others. The rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. But the human beings, this is, how is it going to be taken care of? So it has to be the good deeds versus the bad deeds. And that shows the evil outcome of a dhulm in general. And then the second statement is about the guidance. Everyone, and when we read this hadith, there are certain meanings that we might think is important, but we need to understand it and we need to implement it in our hearts the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it and the way that hadith of the Prophet ﷺ expresses it. So for example, if we say salah is important, but how important it is not left to us or you versus another person. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the salah, what's the importance of it? That's the most important thing in one's life. So here, all of you are dal, all of you are deviants. We are deviants. This is how it's supposed to be done. Everyone is deviant إلا من هديت, except the one that I guide. So no one has the ability to guide himself. Everyone is deviant except the ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide. So what's the act of ubudiyah? Because it's going to be the same for the rest. What's the act of obedience to Allah? Fastahduni. Ask me for guidance. I will guide you. So never depend on yourself when it comes to guidance. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it because guidance is from Allah. And then you take the physical means. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that guides. كلكم جائع. All of you are hungry. إلا من أطعمته. Except the one that I feed. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. So you are hungry by default. You have nothing by default. You have no food whatsoever, except if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala feeds you. So if you feel full, anyone's hungry? So if you feel full and you ate, alhamdulillah, it is not from you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that fed you, provided for you, and He's the one that gave you the ability to eat and to feel full even. Right? If He will subhanahu wa ta'ala, you won't be able to eat. If He will, He won't not make you full, and so on. So, but you see how things has to be done like this, has to be understood like this. The same thing when it comes to كلكم عار إلا من كسوتم. All of you are عار, that means naked. You have no clothes except the ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cover them with clothing. فاستكسوني. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your clothing and shelter. And the question is, do we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that? Or we think that we figured it out ourselves? So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that, because if He will subhanahu wa ta'ala, He won't be able to have it. And then when someone is following this and his heart is full of these meanings, then you would see the effect of it in the next statements. So, يا عبادي إنكم تخطئون بالليل والنهار. O my slaves, you are sinning during the day and during the night. وأنا أغفر لكم ذنوبكم جميعا. I'm the one that forgives all of your sins. فاستغفروني أغفر لكم. So seek forgiveness from me, I will forgive you. يا عبادي إنكم لن تبلغوا ضري أو ضري فتضروني. You can never reach to harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, and you can never reach to benefit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all of what's mentioned before, you don't take anything. You are not decreasing anything of the treasures of Allah. Your ibadah is for your own benefit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most rich. That takes away the arrogance. And that a person, oh, I did this. Or a person would say, I deserve this because I did my salah. And you don't deserve anything. It's all by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's all by the mercy of Allah. To humble oneself and not to have al-ujb or liking oneself. And if the first among you, the last among you, the ins and the jinn, all of them upon the most righteous hearts, they all have the righteous, like the righteous heart, which is the heart of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All of that, if all of them like this, it would not increase anything in the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the opposite is also true. If the first and the last and the jinn and the mankind, they're all upon the most wicked heart whatsoever, they're all like Iblis, exactly. That would not decrease anything of the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and that's an important thing. The deen of Allah is always victorious and is always superior. Right? And no one does anything to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The haqq is always victorious. The individuals, they're the one that get defeated and this and that. But the haqq is always there. And this is the deen of Allah. So when someone has worries about the deen of Islam, no, don't worry. This is the deen of Allah. But worry about yourself. We worry about our own selves and our own children and things like this, that a person might lose the guidance, might lose to be steadfast upon the deen of Allah. But the deen of Allah is always victorious, is always superior because it's the haqq. Whether it's physically, sometimes and sometimes not, as the ayat says, but always not in the non-physical sense, no one can defeat it whatsoever. And it's going to be present till the day of judgment, and it's going to prevail, of course, no doubt about this. So, and then, and if all of you get together, the same meanings, and you ask each one, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His mas'ala, endless means of asking and His dua, that would not decrease anything from the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the treasures of Allah. And at the end, it's all your a'mal, your actions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything is not lost. Every single action, if it's a tasbihah, it's counted, it's written, If it's a sin, it's written. Everything is there. ثم أوفيكم إياها. You will be given in it in full. أوفيكم, took الوفاء, يفي, the same word. You will be given, it will be fulfilled to you. So whoever finds good, then he should be grateful to Allah. And whoever finds other than that, he should not blame anyone but his own self. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us benefit from what we heard. And we'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala, because of the time. And if you have any questions, either after Salatul Isha or send a message, and then we can talk about it, inshallah. But don't leave any questions without being answered, inshallah, hopefully. Otherwise, we can find an answer for it, inshallah. The attendance code is Al-Hajr, Al-Ain, Ghurama. 3 words. Al-Hajr, Alhajr, Al-Ain, Alayn, and Ghurama, Ghurama. It's okay if you have misspelling, or if you write it in Arabic, all of it's good, right? نفعي فتنفعوني, can you explain this part? يا عبادي لو لن تبلغوا نفعي فتنفعوني. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to all of the human beings, all of the jinn, all that exist from the time of Adam alayhi salam till the end, you can never reach to benefit Allah so that you would benefit me. لن تبلغوا نفعي فتنفعوني. You know, this is the statement, the same thing with Allah. You can never reach the benefit so that you would benefit me. لن تبلغوا نفعي فتنفعوني. Right? When you have from a human perspective, right? Nothing is the like of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, for example, if you think that this phone is benefiting for you, right? The phone is benefiting for you, but it's not with you, so you're not benefiting from it, right? So no one will be able to do something that he might think that this is benefits Allah, so that Allah will benefit from it. It does not exist, because He's the owner of all things, right? صلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم ربنا وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك.